name's Dan Tasse. I'm in human-computer interaction, and I study how to use social media to understand our cities better. The project's called Roads, Green Buildings. It's a way to look at any place you want to show on a map and figure out what portion of the land is made up of roads, what is covered with buildings, and what is covered with green space. It's a website, so you can try it out now. Actually, it's on Heroku. I'll post a link wherever I can, and it's sort of like Google Maps. You type in a search a search term for an address that you want, hit go, and it shows you the map with an overlay of red roads, buildings in blue, and green space actually just as the green space from the satellite image imposed on it. And then it shows you like a numerical breakdown too of what percentage is each. And as you search through a couple different ones, you can see these percentages kind of compared across locations. Yeah, so I was interested in this land use, reading about some history of urban planning and density and stuff, and in particular a blog post by a guy named Andrew Price that was about what percent of space is like useful or not useful. And so it was so he just did this by hand. He took some maps of San Francisco and he colored them in, and he showed that like in this block 80% is like useful space, and then he showed the same thing in Phoenix, and it was like 50% for whatever block he chose, and then in some suburb somewhere it was like 8% or something. Is useful space, and the rest is either parking lots, roads, dead medians in the middle of highways and stuff. And so I guess by useful, I mean he called it places and non-places. So roads are useful, sure, but they're not like a place you want to go to, right? Whereas in a city, a lot of things that you see are either a house or a store or something that is like a place instead of just an in-between zone. So I got thinking about like how can we quantify the in-between, the amount of places and the amount of in-between zones in a place to show that it's better to have more good stuff there. So I started thinking about how I could do that sort of automatically, because these visualizations are real powerful, but he did them by hand. So I was thinking, all right, can I take out each chunk of space and classify it as either space or place or non-place? And I realized not really, because what is a place to me might not be a place to you, and vice versa. It's inherently subjective, and I don't want to show a map of here's what's good and bad in the world. So instead, I went to go with something a little bit more concrete, no pun intended, because we can mostly agree like what's a road, what's a building, and and like green space is just things that are green. There's satellite image for that. So and also this was all possible to get via some dubious Google Maps hacks. So yeah, so it's both like getting towards interesting and possible. And also it's given that I'm I'll be in San Francisco for the summer, I'm looking for a place to live, so I was able to actually like scope out neighborhoods based on that and identify which ones I was not which ones are better, but which ones had I was able to see like, oh, this one neighborhood I was considering actually had a lot more roads in it than I expected, which might affect the feel of it a little bit. So that's kind of like that's kind of my sort of verification that it was useful. I was able to at least use it for something that I found informative. I guess that this is interesting and this is getting towards something. In the ideal world, I would make something like Walk Score. If you know it, it's on walkscore.com. You can see how walkable your place is, and they give you a score from 0 to 100, right? And it's determined by how close a lot of things are. So the closest grocery store, the closest restaurants and stuff, and it's a rough metric, right? But it's a metric, and it's real interesting and useful when you're looking at places to live or looking at how different neighborhoods and stuff. So my goal was to make something like that, and I think we're like getting there. I'm not going to say this is like the awesome perfect metric, but I would love to see next to the walk score of a place, I'd love to know its roads, green, and buildings percents, and Yeah, so I guess that was one of my main questions when I was doing this is this interesting at all? Because it's kind of mechanical. It's kind of just here's where things are. And some people I talked to had that concern is this interesting? And I think, I mean, I'm biased, but I think it is. And I think that there's something to do along this way. You know, it'll take more work, but eventually there's something useful here.